What's up, everybody? You're here with the Fly Guy. All right, today I just wanted to cover some of my favorite flies for trout in small streams, specifically Southeast Alaska. I've been back at the vise lately and I've been tying a lot of flies, mostly for bass, but I've also been tying some trout flies as well. The flies I'm going to cover today are the Cut Zonker. This is a small adaptation to a classic zonker pattern that I started fishing when I was in Southeast Alaska working as a guide. I primarily fish these streamers for small stream trout and for pressured fish when you're not able to really get them to take some of these larger streamer patterns and they might have lockjaw. That's for the lower 48. However, in Southeast Alaska, I use these streamers to specifically target Sea Run Cutthroat Trout when streams were chock full of salmon and dolly varden. It's kind of wild to think about, but when I was in Southeast Alaska, I love the fisher. I love being able to just go right outside my cabin to a small creek and be able to catch salmon and dolly varden until my arms were sore. It was awesome. But I fell in love with the Sea Run Cutthroat Trout. These fish are so beautiful. They don't get very big, but they travel between the saltwater and the coastal streams. Some choose to live their full life in a stream as a resident. And you can always tell the difference between the residents and the sea runs because the sea runs tend to have a little bit more silver to their body. And the fish are just amazing. They're hard fighters and they're willing to take a fly. I could not get enough of the Sea Run Cutthroats when I was up there. And one of the problems that I was having was I was fishing primarily or guiding primarily for the dolly varden and the salmon. And one of the things that I developed up there were fly patterns that I could use that the salmon would not touch and the dollies would barely look at. This was actually a very difficult challenge when you have a little stream, a little creek that you can walk across in maybe 15, 20 steps that is filled with fish. And you're wanting to target some of the prime water to draw out these Sea Run Cutthroat trout and leave the other fish undisturbed. These little cut zonkers that I tied up actually did the trick. Now, I will say that early in the season, when dolly varden are feeding heavily on salmon fry, the red and white version will not keep them off the hook. The dollies will hit this just as hard. If you want to focus on the dollies and you want to adapt this pattern for a more of a dolly varden and a Sea Run Cutthroat type of pattern for early in the season up in Southeast Alaska, when they're feeding on salmon fry, you can go ahead and add a little bit of an orange to the throat of that fly. And that will be the trigger color that will get you into those dolly varden. Being able to throw, steak and eggs or egg patterns and flesh and being able to just get into fish after fish after fish, I love doing that. But these Sea Run Cutthroats require just a little bit more of a different approach. And as I would wade up into the higher stretches of streams where the pools were smaller, I would target the wooded structure and the drop-offs. And these cut zonkers would enable me to pull out these Sea Run Cutthroats and leave the other fish alone. I loved it. It was one of my most favorite things to do. Sometimes I would even test myself a little bit and go out with a 3-weight and throw these little tiny zonkers into wooded structure and pull out these Sea Run cuts. It was a blast. And what I can say about this is that if you really want to target the Sea Run cuts in Southeast Alaska, the red and white version is really the one that I had the most success with. They all work. I'm not saying that you're not going to catch cuts on any of the other ones, but the red and white version really stood out above all the rest. A close second would be your honey brown color variation. It's that brown and gold. The Sea Run cuts just absolutely crush that one too. So those two are my top two for Sea Run cuts in Southeast Alaska. If you are fly fishing for trout in small streams, or you're up in Southeast Alaska, you're fishing the coastal streams, and you want to get some of these Sea Run cuts that you know are in there, I would highly recommend this pattern. It's a great searching pattern, and you can fish it in estuaries too, and when the tide's in. So these little flies get down quickly. There's not a lot of material to them. Really, the only materials that I'm using to construct this fly is a little bit of flash, UV resin, a small piece of bunny strip, and some 3mm eyes. That's it. I use some permanent marker to color my clear thread so I can achieve some different translucent looks, but it's very simple. And you can replicate this pattern very quickly, and it's small, but it has a good sink rate. So this fly is very versatile, works great back east in the United States, and it also crushes Sea Run Cutthroat Trout in Southeast Alaska. With these, you can vary the colors to match what you are seeing the fish react to. I also have two other colors that I've added to my box for the Cut Zonker. It's more of a searching hot color pattern, and it is a orange and black. One of my favorites for the lake Sea Run Cutthroat Trout. So if you have a lake in Southeast Alaska or Washington, BC, you're in that area and there's a lake that has these fish in it, the orange and black variation seems to do very well on the lake run fish. The tying recipes for the other color variations will be up on my website soon, so stay tuned. When they are up, I will provide an announcement. The other color variations that I showed you today, I will be doing tying demos for as well. So if you have not subscribed, make sure that you do so you know when those videos are released. I'm going to be tying more trout flies soon, and I'm also going to be filling up my trout box for my return to the United States. One thing that I have been low on is flies, and I am fixing that problem right now while I have some time now in the Philippines now that my schedule has regulated. And I'm getting my website set back up to be able to re-enter commercial fly tying and offer you guys my patterns. So if you are not a tyer, these patterns will be available soon once I am back in the US and I get things all set up and ripping again. So I'm looking forward to returning to the vise. One of the things that I love so much about fly tying is not only being able to make fly patterns that catch fish. You know, catching fish on something you made is just fun in and of itself. But, you know, being able to tie flies and get them in the hands of other fishermen and seeing them have the same enjoyment out there on the water, that really, you know, makes it for me. I just wanted to give a big thank you to everyone. Thank you for all your support, all the nice comments and kind words, as I have gone through some massive life changes in the past 4 or 5 years. And, you know, my channel, sometimes I'm able to post videos, other times I'm not. But thank you so much for everything that you do. And this is why I post on my channel. I want to get this information out there, share my fly patterns, and provide a database of resources for fly tyers and fly fishermen so they can go out there and have confidence out there on the water. Make sure to check out my website at tfgflies.com. I am updating resources and tying recipes as I go. And I've got some more things that are going to be dropped at the end of next week. So stay tuned for that. I will make an announcement when those things are live and up on the website. If you like this video, go ahead and hit thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more fly fishing and fly tying videos. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Take care, and we'll catch you next time.